we have here Miss Rita Adkins. She is the president of CARA, which is the Charleston Area Realtors Association, a chapter of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, also known as NAREB. Thank you for being here today, Ms. Adkins.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. It's going to be a good conversation today.
Oh, I'm ready.
Yes. So I was very intrigued. I was fortunate enough to be at a meeting that you were conducting, and you were talking about the SHIBA Report.
Yes.
The SHIBA Report, this was my first time hearing about it, and yet the information that was being given was amazing, and I think very important to everyone that's in this industry. The SHIBA Report, State of Housing in Black America, is presented by the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Could you tell us a little bit about what the SHIBA Report is?
So the SHIBA Report has been going around for decades, where they take the statistics from all the type of vendors that's in our industry. Mm-hmm. If it is the lenders and appraisers, and also statistics just from polls, mm-hmm. and they group it together and provide a report. So when in the meeting, we were going over 2025 reports. Yeah. And one thing that we were stressing is that as much as we're steady gathering the information, we're needing to move the needle more and more every year. Right. For me to have been in real estate for going on 20 years, yeah. and consistently looking at the SHIBA Report, we've gotten, in Charleston County, it's gotten pretty good. I can say that national Black home ownership is around 42%. We're about 52% here in Charleston area, but we still have work to do.
Right.
So
I like that you bring that stat up, because oftentimes that is something that's brought up in terms of the percentage of Black homeowners here. But like you said, there's still more work to do. And I think the SHIBA Report, do you find that the details within the SHIBA Report help you to further make that kind of case?
Yes, because and let's just take it to a local level. If the SHIBA Report is saying that there's still a huge 40% gap nationwide, and we might be at a 48% gap, but what is happening in our own area, and how us as realtors and realtists can take a look at this information and use it. For instance, right now we know that the average income for a Charleston area is $102,000, and that is in the white homes. Yeah. But in the Black homes, we're still sitting at $50,000. So if you say, as home affordability continues to be a problem, I don't see in the Charleston area being at 52% Black home ownership down the road. Right. It's going to be way less than that.
You actually bring up a good point, that sustainability. We might be here now, but are we setting the right foundation for us to keep that?
Correct. And so in the meeting, it is us going over what these findings are, and we are always in front of everyone. If it is a college student or a single mother or a brand new couple or an older couple. Yeah. And it is us saying, what can we do to help and make sure that home ownership is attainable for you? And if we can provide these resources based on the statistics that are out there, we already knowing. So what we talked about, we're credit challenges, income challenges, debt to income challenges. Right. So what can we do as realtors and realtists to help those people along and making sure that they can be able to purchase?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like how you're mentioning all the different people that you end up being in front of. So we know that realtors in general, they end up in front of their community members, their peers, things of that nature. But when you look at something like the SHIBA Report, and you know that you're having a lot of folks who are coming to you and they fit into the demographic of the SHIBA Report, this information is helping you to make even more nuanced decisions, or I imagine it enhances your strategy. Do you find that when you are meeting with your fellow realtists in CARA, that you all are able to really use this as a foundation to help each other when you come across some situations that might be hard for one person to figure out? You guys come together and figure it out together?
Yes, and that's the whole part of what our vision is. It is bridging the gap in Black home ownership. So if it is, for instance, we're needing some assistance because we're not getting answers right with appraisers, we have someone that we can go to. We have lenders that's available where like, this isn't adding up and what can we do? Or this is a DTI, but what if we were able to move or shift something around? We need those type of people in our group, because when we do come across things, if we can help out. And I can give you an example, even at the meeting, when I mentioned that the elderly lady needed money, but she just did not have the income. And the first thing one of the vendors said was, have they had a reverse mortgage before? So the more we're having people that is involved and that's participating, the more we can get the resources together to be able to help and go back to our community and share that to help with that.
That's awesome. And that is a great example. I remember being there and seeing that right there in action. And it just kind of shows how, like you said, there's different pieces. There's different like cogs in this whole thing and they work together. It kind of reminds me of something I saw in the SHIBA report that was talking about how many Black households were unbanked, right? And said that there were a lot of Black homeowners or potential Black homeowners who live in places that are bank deserts. So that makes me think about the partnerships that we have, right? Once again, it's not just about being a realtor, but also everything that touches the industry. So how valuable, when you have this kind of information, are your partnerships with banks, for instance? Because there were some bank representatives at the meeting.
Yes.
So how important are those relationships to you all?
They're very important, because I always say in our industry, lenders are the make it and break it for a deal.
Right.
And when we're able to get partners on that I know will sit down and be able to fully discuss and become very relatable.
Right.
Because what you just said, due to the bank deserts, a lot of African Americans are scared to go into a bank, let alone scared to talk about their finances.
Right.
And scared to even give their financial information over, because immediately it is programmed in their head of discrimination. So if we can provide those relationships and allow them to have a safe space, I think for sure we can pick right along. If it is go to step A to step B to step C, and then step D, you're buying your home. And it takes building those relationships with our partners. And when we're bringing people in that is needing help, we already know who to take them to. Because we even noticed at the meeting, there's so many programs that's out there. And can you imagine by yourself that you're not used to having a bank, not used to going into a bank, and then say, I'm going to go into a regular big bank and sit down and talk about home buying, when that might not, it's very intimidating. And 9 out of 10, that might not be the bank that's going to be the most helpful either.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're not very customer service oriented. So we try our best to get as much information out so they can come to us and we can then spread them to the people that we've made partnerships with.
And it makes a lot of sense. And you actually remind me of something you said during the meeting that I do want to make some space for here, where you were talking about the value of data, right? And that's what the whole SHIBA report is, data. But there is a moment that everyone can help build that data. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of checking certain boxes when folks are going, I think, especially at the bank?
Yes.
Could you please talk about how important that information is?
So usually, and it can be schools, it can be lenders, a lot of them always ask for those demographic criterias, and it's always optional. And we, especially in the African American community, kind of say, well, why we need to ask that? What are you getting from us?
Right.
But this is the information, when you check that box, this is the information that is keeping everyone doing the right thing. And for instance, I don't want to just name a bank, but say for instance, a big box bank is denying 80% of all African American home loans. And there's the companies that's come down to do the audits can see that, then that makes them say, what are you doing wrong? Let us thoroughly look into this. But guess what? If no one ever checks those boxes, that would not have been any data there to look at that and to see. And so it might not help you at this moment, but it's helping the future people coming in.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome when you said it then. It's awesome when you say it now, because it helps with those checks and balances,
Yes.
much like how this report is helping to say, here's the data. Here's this isn't hearsay. This is actual data that's being collected and gleaned. So I think that's important to note. And again, glad that you said it so that people know they can contribute in making change, in sounding an alarm just by doing something like that, just by giving that information. So I think that's fantastic. So speaking of information, there was a lot of things that the SHIBA report said, and there were some pieces here. They have you provided some talking points. We won't go through all of them, but there were some that we already kind of touched on. But I definitely wanted to get your thoughts on some of the policy failures in structural barriers, and I'll go back to some other pieces too. I think that this was so important because it also showed how, from a policy level, there are barriers that homeowners are facing. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing from that you and other realtors are seeing, policies that are prohibiting people from being successful?
Um, my first thing I personally feel is that not a lot of policymakers understand real estate.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
So if they don't understand it, they don't know how to help.
Yeah.
And then you're also looking at, you have people that are talking to these policymakers,
Right.
but you want to look at the overall picture, or the big picture, should I say.
Right.
If you have developers talking to the policymakers, of course, they're saying this is what we want.
Right.
If you have the community talking to the policymakers, they're saying this is what I want.
Right.
But it needs to have a common ground where it all makes sense. For instance, if we're consistently seeing growth coming, but if it's the government that is helping with the infrastructure and helping with the schools, but the builders are there too, I think they all need to be sitting at that table together, right?
Yeah.
And making sure that all aspects of that community is being taken care of.
Yeah, I like that. Again, reminding you of some words that you said. I told you that meeting impacted me. It was great. But you were talking about the importance of showing up to different meetings and things of that nature, so that you can be on the up and up. I know that's something that is important to you, and you discussed that with the fellow realtors that were there. Do you think that that's something that do you see the moments and opportunities when you're talking to these potential homeowners where you can be that example for them,
Yes.
or influence them?
And I think even at CTAR, we really hone in on advocacy.
Absolutely.
For the community and for even for our realtors, right?
Right.
So same thing with us. It is the advocacy part.
Yeah.
And if we're not in those rooms, we don't know what's going on.
That's right.
And that is where the more we are involved, the more we're able to stand up and say, that doesn't make any sense. And what if you try it this way,
Right.
or how is this going to affect everyone else, or if it is affecting, for instance, we're currently, city of North Charleston has one of the highest eviction rates in our state.
Right.
I would love for us all, if it's all walks of life, realtors, business owners, landlords, property managers, everybody get together and say, listen, let's acknowledge there's a problem.
Right. Absolutely.
And let's find ways to help
Absolutely.
with this, because it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And we're finding a whole lot more people are being homeless.
Yeah.
So it is, when it comes to policy and laws, we're needing to be in those rooms. And that's one reason that got me into politics, was being a part of the legislative committees and understanding what's going on and finding out, hey, there's this law that's coming, or there's these rules coming that's going to give us down payment assistance.
Right.
The more I got involved with that, it is always kind of like Christmas when we hear something can be helpful for our clients. And, it changes every day, and sometimes twice a day or so.
Right.
But being in those rooms with policymakers, and even having a voice,
Yes.
that matters. And you won't know until you're in that room, for sure.
Yeah, got to be in the room, got to be where the people are. And I think that certainly you practice what you preach because, like you said, you're on the legislative committee with CTAR, and CTAR is big on advocacy. So I can totally see this natural synergy that CTAR and NARAB have together in terms of advocacy is very important in order to move that needle, like you were talking about before. And then there's one more piece we kind of talked about a little bit, but I did want to the appraisal bias. When it says the SHIBA report continues to highlight racial disparities in home appraisals. Can you speak to and I also want to say this bullet point too, because this is all of these are valuable, but this got me. Homes in Black communities are more likely to be undervalued, reducing equity and wealth building opportunities. This key point was important to me because it absolutely talks about how when one thing happens here, it can hinder the future for your children and your grandchildren. How do this might be a loaded question, right? I know it doesn't have an exact answer, but how do we counteract something like that? How do we fix something like that? Again, I know you may not have all the answers, but what are your thoughts on that?
And that's a hard one.
Yeah.
And first thing, and I haven't thoroughly looked all the way into this, but I'm understanding that they're taking away the diversity inclusion training for appraisers. And that to me is very important, and that will help with this.
That's a good point.
There's moments that some people don't know that they have a bias
Right.
until it is taught to them that it's a bias.
Right.
And that to me is where training comes.
Yeah.
We unknowingly all have biases, and we don't understand how it affects our way of thinking and our actions until it is brought to our attention.
Absolutely.
And so one, and this was just said at the meeting, so I'm going to be diving into it.
Right.
One is making sure getting a full understanding of what they're talking about with the training. But even as realtors, we're requiring now with federal housing training too, because fair housing training. So that helps us to, again, be aware of the discriminations and the biases that are out there. So the more people are educated, and at that moment, you can't say you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And once you can't say you don't know, then that means that was intentional.
Yes.
And with that, then that is where these reports can start really pulling out the wrongdoers. And hopefully on a national level and on the local and state level, we can start holding these appraisers accountable. And just like we hold the lenders already accountable.
Right.
But it is very known that if it is a majority African American community, that if those prices are way less than one street over.
Right.
And that is a concern.
Yeah.
And it will not be a concern until everyone acknowledges it.
Yeah.
But instead, once everyone starts gentrifying the area, now the prices are the same.
Yeah.
So when will that change? How does one street over makes a big difference?
Yeah, absolutely. The key message from this particular point said undervaluation equals lost wealth, and it must be addressed. And I couldn't agree more. Like we're talking about we're talking about wealth here. We're talking about how you're building for a future, and again, your family's future. And so that's when we talk about the certain systems that things are built on and all of that, that's a hot topic conversation for people. Some people agree that there are systems in place that have kept people down. Some people say it's not. But I'm gonna tell you something. Data will help us to see where the truth is, and that's why I like things like this.
And you make a good point, because that's part of us as realtors and just within our community to even educate our community. Hey, you can go and get help with this to keep your values up. Hey, instead of losing your home, these are the rules for the city to make sure you maintain at the bare minimum so you can't lose your home.
That's right.
So any and everything that we can do to even educate our own community is helping too. Because when I hear people say, oh, they came and took my home, something had to happen in order for that. But could we have found a way to have educated you so that would not have happened? Oh, yes.
right.
But
right.
it also takes for us to even raise our hand and say, I need help too. So,
Yeah, that's beautiful. As my mom says, when you know better, you do better.
right.
Right. And I like that's why I like that CARA exists, that NARAB exists, because what you're trying to do is to needle into the needs of your community and say, how can I be a trusted individual?
Yes.
Because everything we talked about, with the bank deserts, or when we talk about African Americans, particularly being a little hesitant to share certain information, we're talking about trust here.
Yes.
We're
That's all
talking
that.
about
Trust.
a breach of trust. So when you and the rest of the realtors step onto the scene and you're working with all these groups, I imagine that trust is something that is kind of like a guiding light to you. Do you think that, or rather, not do you think, I know trust is important to you, but you are the newly installed president
Hmm.
for CARA. How do you intend to increase that trust? I know through education, but how else will CARA continue to enforce that trust in the community?
One thing I want to take away for this year would be being more visible.
Yeah.
I think trust starts with even them knowing who you are and
Yes.
seeing you, and action speaks louder than words, right?
Right.
So it is being in the community and even letting people know what we're doing and why we're doing
That's
it.
right.
And I feel organically the trust would come.
Yeah.
Trying to force something down someone's throat is not going to be
Is
there.
not it.
But you're
Right.
right. We want to be that lighthouse, that shining that
That's
light that
right.
says, hey,
That's right.
I want to purchase a home. I'm getting a lot of the unknown or the runaround. Who can I go to
Right.
that I know that I can have a safe space and they are definitely going to guide me the right way? And that's what our goals are. And in order to do that, we need to
Yeah.
be visible in the community.
Yeah.
So that is where we're planning to be at as many community events that we can.
Right.
And that's one thing, as us as realtors, we are the realtors, but we are there saying we are here representing and
Yeah.
educating the community.
That's exciting. Well, I know there's going to be some great things coming out of CARA. I know there's going to be some great things coming out of NARAB, but very excited to see what you do. Again, this SHIBA report, chock full of information. It's actually a 117-page report, so there's
That's what
plenty of.
I summed it up in two pages.
You did a great job. You did a great job. I think that this was fantastic. And so, if there's more information that people want to know, again, the report is online. At and
.com.
narab.com, so you can go and see the full report here. But how else can people, other realtors, or even other community members get in touch with you or with CARA to get more information like this? What are the opportunities for them?
Well, we do have a Facebook page. We don't have a website. So it's a Facebook page, which is Charleston area NARAB. Um, Now, it also, if you were to go to just a regular narab.com
Right.
and do anything that you do that reports back to Charleston,
Got
we
it.
will get an alert as well.
Nice.
But on one thing that I love about our actual NARAB website, you get to see all the things that we're doing within nationwide, and it shows you what we're doing on the advocacy side. It gives that call to action on things that we need to be doing on the federal side with policy,
Right.
and as well as getting you in touch with the local
Yeah,
chapters.
that's fantastic. I hope that more people show up.
Yes.
I was at the meeting with you had the Goose Creek chapter of the NAACP that was moving as well. So if you want to get fired up, I suggest that you come to one of the meetings. But thank you so much for spending this time with
Well,
us.
thank you
This
for
is
having
very
me again.
valuable, and we hope to have you again soon at some point in time. But
Yes,
thank
I would
you.
love to be here.